What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 3 of the Only for the Strong podcast. My name is Campbell Younger, and today's guest is a senior solicitor at Webb Farry Lawyers in Dunedin, specializing in corporate and commercial law, property, and also trust and estate planning. Tommy Clout, how's it going, bro?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, keeping well. How are you going in lockdown and everything? All good?
Yeah, not bad. Yep, ticking over.
Yeah.
Still just working from home and trying to stay active as well. So a few runs, few gym circuits, that kind of thing.
Awesome, sweet.
Trying to stay sane.
Yeah. So the first thing I'd really like you to touch on is just your role at Webb Farry, what it entails and some of the pros that you find or enjoy in the role.
Yep. So I'm sort of a general property lawyer. So I've been there for 3 years. And I did a year up in Tauranga at another firm. So it kind of covers a whole range of things, including residential conveyancing, so people buying and selling houses, commercial transactions, so people buying and selling businesses, lease work, and then kind of the estate planning side of things as well. So people wanting to set up wills, trusts, powers of attorney. Basically anything to do with property. I kind of have a particular interest for first home buyers. They sort of seem to be the type of client that needs a lot of assistance, and obviously being a similar age and stage to them, I kind of get a lot of enjoyment out of helping people into their first home. So that's probably a pro for me. Probably another thing would just be the environment at work. There's a good group of young solicitors as well, so it makes it easy to sort of talk about different problems that we might have with certain clients, just brainstorming ideas, and just a sort of good cultural fit.
Yeah, so you do almost feed off the other solicitors in the firm and bounce off ideas, or go to them if you have problems, or? Yeah,
definitely. Yep. So everyone kind of specializes over time in different areas. When you start off, you're kind of doing all the basics, and then you kind of ended up going into different interest areas. So for me, I'm not particularly strong around, say, like family law, but I can go to someone in the office to talk about some specific issues if someone's separating or has any sort of domestic violence issues, that kind of thing. Or it might be that I go to someone else to talk around the tax implications of purchases or sales. Yeah, it's just a very sort of collaborative environment, which I guess in any workplace is beneficial, because lawyers don't know every law, same with any other industry, I guess.
Yeah, so going into a little bit of detail about your upbringing and education, and then just sort of in turn how you ended up as a solicitor down here in Dunedin.
Yep, so I grew up in Tauranga, went to Tauranga Boys, graduated there 2011, and then went to Waikato University in Hamilton. Spent 5 years there, did a Bachelor of Laws and Bachelor of Management Studies, majoring in economics. I kind of just enjoyed how law and economics go well together, particularly around sort of commercial law practices, and I thought would just put me in good stead for a range of options for careers. I didn't really have any intention of being a lawyer until I did a summer clerkship at the end of my 3rd year at university. Really enjoyed it, enjoyed the firm I was working for, and then kind of finished university needing a job. And it was just a career that really lined with meeting with clients, so the face-to-face interaction, but then also like having my own office and my own space, getting really into like the detail of documents, which was kind of a strength for me as well, I think. And then in 2018 decided to move down to Dunedin, mainly for cricket actually. So I was working part-time at my previous law firm, and also working towards trying to play professional cricket. Saw an opportunity down in Dunedin to play for the Otago Bolts in 2018. So I kind of made the move, teed up a job where I'm at the moment at Webb Farry, and kind of balanced work and cricket for the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, it was kind of a thing that I just wanted to stay for a season to see how I went with cricket, and then I just loved Dunedin. Enjoyed sort of the networking side of things as well, really growing my own personal network through cricket and rugby. And yeah, just really sort of enjoying the city really. And also it was coming time for me to try and get in the housing market, and I knew I couldn't afford back in Tauranga on my own. So again, I saw Dunedin as a good place to buy. I knew the market pretty well just through work, so ended up staying another couple of years, and then sort of here I am 3 years on, still really enjoying it, enjoying my house, and yeah.
Yeah, how have you managed, or how did you find managing, I guess, obviously a demanding career like being a solicitor and playing a high level of cricket at the same time over a prolonged period of time? Because really, like what we see in any professions is people obviously hone in on one thing, and usually that's how they reap the most rewards. But essentially for the last few years, you've been trying to balance the two. I guess, what problems have you found with that, if any, or what positives have you found having a bit of a balance in that, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely tough at times trying to balance the two, because you've obviously got employment obligations to your firm to get through work that they're sort of delegating you, or clients wanting you to meet certain deadlines. So that's always hard on its own. And then with cricket, trying to train at the level that I needed to be at to play professionally, which again, for a lot of the guys I was training with, that was their full-time job because they were contracted. So yeah, definitely balance. I think something that I was blessed with, I guess, is I had very flexible working arrangements with Webb Farry. They took me on working 8 till 2 every day. So I'd clock off at 2 o'clock, almost on the dot, go to training, or I'd sort of just train in the morning and then work in the afternoon. So I guess having flexible employment is always a win, but not everyone gets that luxury. So yeah, I sort of felt very lucky in that sense. Yeah. One of the hard things, I guess, would be trying to meet everyone's expectations as well. Kind of, as I mentioned, having clients wanting you to get back to them that day or sort of by the end of the week, which is totally sort of reasonable and expected. But then me being out of the office for 2 or 3 hours, trying to train at the level that I need to be at. And yeah. But I mean,
you're dealing with quite high risk or like high value situations, and they obviously are probably not that phased if you're out practicing your bowling, you know, and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, yeah, I think clients enjoy the fact that you have different sort of strings to your bow, different avenues, and between sort of rugby and cricket, clients do enjoy that. But at the end of the day, they're paying for a service, and you do have to meet those obligations, which is totally fine. So it's just a balancing act, really, and probably just something that I've picked up during university. Like I was still training as well, balancing lectures and everything else, and then probably it goes back to school as well, where you're in class all day and then you train before and after school. Just whatever, yeah, you kind of just get used to it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So the main thing I got you on here today for and to crack into was essentially first-time buyers, which you've mentioned as your, I guess, the area of expertise you prefer.
Yep.
So let's just say that we've got someone in their mid to late 20s. They've been working full-time since they left high school. They've saved up the money. What are the next steps, and what does the process look like of buying a house right up until purchase?
Yep. Yeah, good question. So this is a pretty common situation we see where, yeah, as you say, people have saved up. Probably the first thing to do is get finance confirmation. So you want to know how much you can borrow and what purchase price you can go to when you're looking at a house. So the first thing would be to go to a mortgage broker, or if you have a banker sort of that you already have a personal relationship with, it's always good to go with people you know. or people that you can trust as well. So the first thing is to get finance approval. That way, you know, when you go to an open home and you're talking to the agent and they say, you know, offers have to be over 700,000, but you're only approved to 600, then you kind of know that that property's out of your price range. Or even just when it comes to searching online on Trade Me or Homes, or just dealing directly with agents, you know what you can go to. The next thing is to get in touch with a solicitor. So knowing the whole process from the start to finish. So to make an offer, you have to sign an agreement for sale and purchase. On the front page basically has all the key terms that you want to include. So the purchase price, which will be based again on firstly how much you can afford, but then also what you think the property is worth. And then also just taking into account the level of competition for that property. Like you might have been to an open home, you saw 50 people there, you know it's going to be highly demanded. And again, just talking to the agents as well, just to try and get a feel. And then it's really working through what your options are. So in particular, the conditions. So the most common we see obviously finance, so getting that ticked off. LIM report, so land information memorandum, which basically gives a history of the property itself. In particular, you know, the building consents that have been obtained, any natural hazards that are associated with the property. Definitely worthwhile getting your lawyer to look over that before you make your offer, or you can make that a condition of your offer. And the third common one is a building inspection. So getting a builder through the property to make sure it's not going to fall over or it's got a leaky roof or anything like that. Yeah, for sure. A real balancing act we see is making your offer attractive, but still doing your homework. So as I said, you could pay for a builder to go through the property before you make your offer, get it all checked off, but then it means you have to pay for that up front and you might not get the house that you're after. Same with getting a LIM or a title reviewed. You could pay for your lawyer to do that as well, but then you might not actually get the property. So the alternative is that you make those conditions where you say, yep, I'll pay 600,000 for this house, conditional on me getting my lawyer to check off the LIM and the building report and getting my bank to check off the finance. And saying that if a vendor is looking at two agreements, one is unconditional for 600,000, one is conditional on finance and LIM and building report for 600,000, the vendor will most likely go for the unconditional offer. So it really is sort of weighing up in the circumstances, the purchase price and your conditions, and making it as attractive as possible. So you're not having to sort of go through the whole process a lot of times, and you're paying for building fees and legal fees and that sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. So you did touch on some there, but are there any other pitfalls or things to watch that come to mind for buying your first home, and how could you be better prepared for these?
Yep. A common one I see is people who are using their KiwiSaver towards their deposit. It does take 10 or 15 working days to get your KiwiSaver out. And so a lot of people will put in, let's say they put in an unconditional offer and their 10% deposit is due for payment straight away. Often some people can get caught out because they've signed an unconditional offer without getting their lawyer to check over the agreement.
Right.
And all of a sudden they have to pay 10%, which might be $60,000, but they need 10 or 15 working days to get out their KiwiSaver. So it's just little things like that where you're working out the timing, talking to the bank about what other options there might be in terms of like a temporary overdraft or borrowing from your family or anything like that. Another one might be when obviously it is quite difficult to buy a house on your own at the moment. So a lot of people, like friends, are buying together or young couples are buying together, and just being aware of what the implications might be if let's say it's a young couple and one of them separates, or you both separate and one of them has put in a lot more than the other. Just knowing from the outset what your options are. Yeah.
So what would a situation, for example, if it was a friend or partner that bought together, what would that look like if, let's say, they split up or someone wanted to sell? How would that actually go down?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is sort of all general advice, but and it would depend on the circumstances of the couple or the friends. But generally, if it's a young couple and they've been together for less than 3 years, and they separate, then whatever they contributed to the house would remain their separate property. So, let's say you got a young couple. One's put in 100,000, the other's put in 10,000, and they separate within a couple of years. The first person would most likely get their 100,000 back, and the other person will get the 10,000 back, and then anything gained would just get split down the middle. Once you get to 3 years, generally, then it's more, or you get sort of automatic entitlements under the Relationship Property Act, where you get a 50% share in the whole property, regardless of what you put in. Again, if anyone was going to separate or consider sort of buying the other person out, then we definitely recommend getting legal advice at that point. There are ways around it in terms of contracting out, which is also known as a prenup, where you kind of delineate from the start saying that this is my separate property, this is my separate property. And it's particularly common where people have put in disproportionate amounts. So one person's put in a lot more than the other, and they want to make sure that their share is protected.
Cool. So it sounds like I'm getting the gist that the best way to sort of be prepared or problem solve any pitfalls along the way is to have a good solicitor.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. There are, definitely a few cowboys out there.
I mean, if you're a young person, say my age, 25, and like obviously I know of you, but I'm sure a lot of people in my demographic, like they don't have heaps of lawyers in their circle, especially ones that they might have a personal relationship with. So if you don't have anyone like that to go to, how would you go about finding a reputable solicitor to help you with your first home buying?
That's a good question. I mean,
like, should you be looking for like your friends' recommendations or going to a well-established firm in town? Or
reputation is pretty critical. So if you do a good job for someone, they'll probably tell their friend. I'd probably be inclined to go with someone, firstly, that you know, hopefully, just because there's that personal relationship there already. I mean, I enjoyed dealing with my friends just because I know them personally, and you are sort of helping them into their first home. If you don't know anyone at all, Google. Yep.
Do people leave reviews on there, like, or testimonies or that sort of thing?
Yep. Different firms have different sort of media and marketing tactics. Google reviews are always good. I think honestly, word of mouth, and you feel free to phone up any firm. Generally, the first consultation would be free, depending on which firm it is. I think try and talk to someone who's already been through the process. Ask who they used. If they're happy to use them, just go with them as well. A lot of it is, particularly for first home buyers, just having someone that you can have an honest chat about. They're not going to cut corners in terms of just sort of pushing a deal through just for the sake of it. They actually want to sort of help you put your best offer forward, help you get into your first home. There is quite a bit of planning involved as well in terms of all the condition dates, timing your KiwiSaver, settling on time so that there are no penalties or anything like that. I'd probably say talk to someone who has been through the process already, see who they used. If not, try and just have a look around online. phone a particular lawyer if you like to look at their website profile, try and get a gauge on them. You can always ask for a fee estimate as well. I'd say if you're looking for a fee, sort of a fair fee, sometimes you get what you pay for. So if they're offering a very cheap fee, you sometimes wonder how good they're going to be in terms of the due diligence behind the house, making sure that you're not going to face any sort of pitfalls or anything. Yeah.
Awesome, sweet, plenty of gems in there. So what I want to do now is just go over some quick fire questions with you. So straight off the bat, what would be the last meal you would have if you were on death row?
Ooh. I'm a sucker for a T-bone steak and chips.
Yeah, that's a good one. Your favorite music genre?
After living with you, mate, I reckon that 90s gangster rap.
Yeah, 100%.
No, or probably sort of that 90s, early 2000s rock.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page with you there. In your opinion, the greatest athlete of all time?
Tough to go past MJ.
Yeah, 100%. Your biggest inspiration in business, or I guess law, or it could be a sporting figure as well.
Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had like a particular sort of role model or person that's really sort of inspired me in terms of law. I think I mentioned that I kind of fell into it in terms of I wasn't really sure if it's what I wanted to do, but certainly having a good partner to work under who's always there to delegate work and also just be there to help you with any difficult situations. Yeah, I'd say the partners at Webb Farry have been pretty awesome for me in that regard.
Yeah, awesome. Your favorite movie of all time?
Shawshank.
Nice. And lastly, what's your coffee order?
Long black.
Nice.
With a side of hot water.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, thank you very much for your time today, Brian. I know you're super busy. So just before I let you go, I'm happy to let you sort of plug where people can reach you if they've got any questions or want to inquire about your services. Yeah,
sweet. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. If someone wants to get in touch, my email address is tclout@webbfarry.co.nz. So tclout@webbfarry.co.nz.
Awesome, sweet. Well, again, thank you very much for jumping on, bro. There were so many gems in there, and I'll definitely look forward to bringing you back on a little bit down the track.
Yeah, awesome. Cheers, man.
All right, sweet, bro. Have a good one.
Cool. Catch you later.